you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
You can play on your tablet too.
This award ceremony is a completely personal take on my year in gaming in 2018. It's not meant to be representative or comprehensive. It's meant to be my award ceremony for those I deem worthy of my own devious and perverse accolades. I'm uniquely qualified at being unqualified to do a well-rounded professional awards ceremony. I have very particular tastes and biases, and there are whole categories of games I never play at all. Ever. Never. Besides, most award ceremonies fall into one of three categories. 1. Professional industry awards bankrolled by the industry, where they divvy up the prizes based on how much each AAA company has paid up in advance. So in a very literal sense, they're professional award ceremonies, because, you know, the judges are getting paid to say and do what they're instructed. 2. Top 10 lists of best and worst games, based entirely on appeasing the audience, where the games are ranked pretty much on popularity and the intention is to just fluff off the viewers. I don't even understand why popularist YouTubers even make these videos. It's basically a popularity contest where whichever game you pick as best, the supporters of the other 9 games are going to get fucking triggered for not coming in first. It's an exercise in desperation and futility. And 3. Entirely subjective, unprofessional awards based solely on the arrogant, biased and spontaneous opinion of the reviewer slash YouTuber slash tryhard. Well, nobody is going to win any awards for guessing that I fall into category 3. To paraphrase Sid Vicious, punk rocker, social philosopher and junkie murderer, I'll do it my way. And my way is that my choices are entirely arbitrary and I am judge, jury and occasionally executioner. 2018 in gaming has left quite an impression on many of us. Mainly a semi-post-traumatic impression, but there were a few highlights and positive moments to indicate that perhaps we may have already reached peak microtransaction and that we have turned a corner towards a more critical, discerning marketplace. But without further ado, let's begin. Best awkwardly out of place Nazi weapons in a video game in 2018. Well, nobody would forgive me if I did not at least give an honourable mention to Tom Clancy's The Division for rolling out the Big Alejandro last December. Only Ubisoft and possibly members of the Third Reich would think it was appropriate to give someone a German MG42 as a Christmas present after all. Another nomination is Red Dead Redemption 2. Strangely, hundreds of thousands of Navy Colts were made and many were later upgraded to 32 rimfire, but we don't see a single one of those, or the original Colts, in poor rural America in 1899. Surely a few would have still been in circulation. I mean, they're still in circulation today. So, despite not seeing a single Navy Colt, the protagonist Arthur Morgan has readily available access to a whole Berlin bunker armoury of German military technology. The Borchardt C93 pistol, the precursor to the Luger, a Mauser C96 and even a unique gold-plated Mauser pistol. The C96 incidentally was issued to the Luftwaffe in World War II. However, they were technically, historically accurate, albeit very rare in America, and besides, I like my Mausers, and I'm fucking keeping them. Battlefield 5 was nominated for giving German guns to everyone.
What do you mean everyone?
Everyone!
In a surreal turn of events, Battlefield Vagina almost won this category, even though it's a World War II shooter. Technically, the entire myriad of German guns. Okay, that's going a bit too far because there are barely any weapons in this game because money. But all the few German guns they could be bothered to model, whilst being entirely appropriate in the hands of the Germans, suddenly become very fucking silly when you give them to the Allies. Even female Asian commando snipers, whatever the fuck that means, get to run around the battlefield spamming their spandaus. Fucking Christ, what has gaming come to? But the hands down winner is Far Cry 5. After all, what goes together better than the sound of slide guitars, banjos, and the rattle of German World War II submachine guns? I mean, as soon as someone mentions Montana, it immediately conjures up images of World War II Nazi memorabilia. No? Well, it does for Ubisoft apparently. In what can now only be considered a trend, Ubisoft managed to, yet again, slip in even more Nazi guns into their video games, for no logical reason. This time it's the MP40 submachine gun and a special edition pop art Luger P08. After all, if you're going to be hunting all weekend, shooting deer in the back of the head and kicking them into open graves, you might as well do it in style, right? What better choice than a fucking Luger? There are few absolute certainties in life. The sun will always rise in the east. Christopher Heyerdahl will always play the best villains. And Ubisoft will always find a way to shoehorn a slightly creepy and out of place Nazi gun into every single video game they make. Fuck, I'm surprised they didn't try and sneak a fucking Luger and a stick grenade into Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Perhaps they did, and I missed it. I never understood this about Ubisoft. They virtue signal about inclusivity, bleat on about progressive values, but behind closed doors, apparently they're cosplaying Das Boot and sitting around a table trying to figure out how to slip in more Nazi guns into every damn video game. I'm not taking the moral high ground here. I think Lugers are fucking excellent, and I considered buying this for my friend's baby shower. I'm as demented and sick as the next guy, but I don't masquerade as virtuous and morally superior, then airbrush out black characters from my video games for the Chinese market, and then cram my other games full of Nazi guns and pedo caches. Congratulations Ubisoft. Far Cry 5 wins best awkwardly out of place Nazi weapons in a video game for 2018. You win a free copy of Schindler's List, 2 tickets to the Holocaust Museum, and sent to bed early without any supper for being very, very silly. Biggest industry liars of 2018. Oh god, where do I even start? Really, this deserves a video of its own. Fuck, this deserves a weekly magazine show. But I honed it down to a small selection which affected me personally. Nominations include Ubisoft for saying they will not abandon Tom Clancy's The Division about 8 fucking seconds before rolling out patch 1.8.3, fucking the game, driving away players, downgrading the servers, pissing away all the budget on statues for E3, and then cancelling State of the Game. You decide, but The Division looks pretty fucking abandoned to me at the moment. Activision for the great Call of Duty Black Ops 4 server bait and switch. Roll out a beta, show everyone how awesome the game is with its 60Hz servers, make a ton of cash on pre-orders, then everyone finds out after launch that the hit registration and latency problems aren't actually problems at all. They just downgraded their fucking servers to 20Hz without telling anyone. Total blatant deception. And with yet another nomination for our friends at Ubisoft, Ubisoft Community Management Team, PR Department, and while we're here, all partnered content creators and social media influencers who peddled the immortal lie of "We can't fix The Division because it would mean taking resources away from The Division 2. What a load of shit. A company with a bigger economy than some developing nations, who have $1 billion of equity, who own so many game studios they need a separate fucking Wikipedia page to list their subsidiaries, apparently is too poor to get 10 developers in on overtime at the weekend to patch a fucking video game. Despite the fact that this statement is factually untrue and nonsensical, because the Division and the Division 2 are separate incorporated financial entities and do not squabble over the same piggy bank, do they seriously expect us to believe that a corporation that literally has the financial resources to invade the fucking Marshall Islands can't rustle together a bit of overtime on Saturdays for a little patch? Kingdom Come Deliverance pushed 3 patches out in a month on all platforms, and the entire fucking budget to make that game was a couple of % of Ubisoft's cash surplus. This was a shame-faced lie, a logical fallacy, a fucking trope designed to trick and deceive players into mentally making an either-or choice where no such choice existed. I don't think anyone selling this bullshit actually believed it. It is not logically or financially based on reality. It's a lie, and they lied it. Besides, wake up for fuck's sake. They had been pulling developers off the Division and setting them to work on the Division 2 since launch day. Ubisoft admitted that. So it's not like we're asking for anything for free, we just want a little bit of the labour back that they stole from us. But let's not fuck around. Everyone knows who won Industry Liars of 2018. Bethesda. Todd Howard, Pete Hines, and anyone who in any way had anything to do with Fallout 76 or its marketing. They all have blood on their hands. Even if you just knew about what was going on and you didn't whistleblow, you're guilty of deception. Unless you ran out of the building shouting at the top of your voice, Fallout 76 is a massive pile of fuck and they're going to trick you out of your refund by slipping in some shitty legal clauses into the end user license agreement. Unless you did that, you are fucking guilty too. Everything about Fallout 76 is a massive con and deception. The beta wasn't a beta. The Nuka-Cola rum was just a bottle of cheap hooch hidden in a plastic tub. The canvas bag was a plastic laundry bag. Nowhere on the box or in the advertising material did Fallout 76 say, "This game is fucking horribly bad and we should feel ashamed." This whole fucking game, its marketing, the special edition merchandise, is a deception at the expense of the consumer. And everyone involved is a shitbag by association. I know some hard-working developers who were employed on Fallout 76 will be saying right now, "But I just worked on the game, it's not my fault, I just needed a paycheck to feed my family." Well, you were feeding your family and gassing up your car with my fucking money. Your paycheck came from defrauding millions of gamers. So, take responsibility. When you swipe your credit card at the checkout, does it make you feel better that your excuse was, "I was only following orders"? Unless you were one of the whistleblowers, you're responsible for this shit show too. So own it. Bethesda wins. Biggest industry liars of 2018. Their prize is 2 wooden Pinocchio noses for Todd Little Lies Howard and Pete I hide behind puppy pictures Hines. Beyond that, they already got what they deserved. The destruction of their brand. Bethesda proved the point that they could release any old piece of shit and their fans would buy it. And in doing so, they also proved the point that this is a scam you can only do once, because you'll never be forgiven. As a career Bethesda and Fallout fanboy who puts a Fallout calendar up in the kitchen every January 1st, bought Fallout beer, previous Fallout special editions, and considered putting a disclaimer on my Twitch channel indicating my bias towards Bethesda, I am shell-shocked that I find myself awarding a prize for being a shitbag to my most beloved game creators. Who would have thought that in 2018 we would hear the word Bethesda nestled between companies like Activision and EA in discussions about scams in the gaming industry? Well played, dumbasses. Oh yeah, and stop ignoring my help centre requests for a refund. Worst microtransactions of 2018. The fanboys, shills, partnered YouTubers and PR guys can bleat on all they fucking like about how microtransactions and pedo caches are good for us. They make games better and help us have fun. But everyone with even moderate brain function knows this is a big fat lie, and they're being paid to sell it. Every single fucking developer working on microtransactions is a person working on taking money away from you instead of giving the game you paid for to you. This reached new heights this year, with many broken ass games rolling out where the only thing that did work was the fucking microtransaction store. We also saw how franchises like Battlefield drastically slashed the budget for weapon design, weapon specialisation and modding options, reducing the game to a selection of a few guns with only 4 choices for modding it, whilst rolling out a fucking shitstorm of cosmetic items, which they couldn't then charge for because of the consumer backlash. LOL. It was a very real example of where gaming is going. One dude, or dudette, I'm not sexist, works on the weapons, but 100 dudes are working on the weapon cosmetic microtransactions. So don't tell me that monetization doesn't do any damage to video games, because it's fucking destroying them. So let's take a gentle stroll down Shit Hill Lane and see what the video game shills and kiddie fiddlers are trying to peddle to the children this year. Runner up is Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Make a game, tweak the progression so it's grindy and boring, then sell back the solution. Time savers. It's genius. Why give someone a setting in the options or a slider for XP gain when you can sell them the solution to the problem you deliberately created? Hang on, isn't that like when you take your car for a service and the mechanic secretly breaks something under the hood and then charges you to fix it? Oh yeah, that old scam. At least Fallout 76 is just downright lazy and overpriced. This is cunning, deceptive, overpriced and dishonest. Talking of which, the Atomic Store in Fallout 76 gets a nomination too. It's like the Amazon store, only more expensive, and none of your parcels arrive. Amongst their many other crimes, the Fallout 76 store is trying to charge you more than certain items like baseball caps and overalls cost in real life. The only ironic defence I can offer is that this is by far not the shittiest thing Bethesda has been guilty of this year. Wow, that is a special place to be in, Bethesda. Whilst not worthy of a nomination, it would be negligent of me not to mention the Division's cosmetic microtransactions and their continued use of a broke-ass and manipulative algorithm. It has not gone unnoticed that the player-specific algorithms are fucking balked. Strange how some high-profile people won the entire spacesuit in the first week. But for many of us, it just never happened. I realised the algorithm might be a bit fucked when I won most of the spacesuit parts in a 24-hour period, then never won a single part again. And now it's 2019, and I'm stuck at the exact same point of progress. RNG is bad enough, but paying for random prizes where they manipulate you to lose and spend more is fucking evil. No, seriously, that's just theft. Stretching your odds out the closer you get to completion is literally a scam, and the law needs to catch up with this shit. But, without doubt, the award for worst microtransactions of 2018 goes to Far Cry 5. The microtransactions themselves, taken out of context, are actually, in the grand scheme of things, fairly small fry compared to some of the shit we get these days. But the delivery mechanism is a chilling insight into the future of Ubisoft's always online vision of gaming. Far Cry 5 is a semi-open world action game with an ammo and gun vendor for every fucking square 50 metres of map, and they are all microtransaction vendors. I'm sorry, but there was something very unsettling and creepy about a video game environment where every few feet you're face planted into yet another microtransaction vendor. The in-game purchases were not the worst and could be bypassed by playing the game. Then again, let's not fuck around, it was pay to win. As far as I know, this game currently holds the record for being the video game with the highest number of in-game purchase stores scattered through its game environment. Ever. If you know better, please tell me. Increasingly, Ubisoft makes me sad, because they are capable of such visionary spectacle. They keep selling themselves short by being EA light. They're just Activision boxing clever, just carefully staying just this side of the line of outrage. And believe me, when that line moves, they will move with it, for better or worse. They're not being nice, they're being tactical with their moral choices. My personal New Year's message to the gaming industry concerning microtransactions is this. I think society needs a new solution for the following people. People who work on loot crates, pedo caches, monetization and manipulating player spending. People who work on impulse purchasing, gambling behaviour and encouraging and reinforcing gambling addiction behaviours. Especially people who have formally studied economics, psychology and sociology. I think all the people working on this kind of project need to be struck off and thrown out of their respective professional bodies, affiliated associations and workers' unions. Abusers should not be tolerated just because it's corporately mandated industrial level abuse. This shit won't stop until there are consequences on a personal level and the individuals are held accountable too. If nothing else, these people are violating the ethical guidelines of many of the professional organisations they're members of. Why aren't these organisations enforcing their own existing ethical rules and guidelines? Imagine if I went up to the American Psychological Association and said, "Hello science folk, can you give me some funding so I can develop technology for making people's gambling addiction worse? I want to weaponise addiction to generate money. Can I have some cash?" They would tell me to go and fuck myself, because I would be violating half the rules in their ethical guidelines. But I could go and work for a video game company doing precisely this, and people do, and face no punishment or consequences. But fuck it, why stop there? I also think these people need to sign a police register, just like paedophiles, stalkers and sex offenders. And just like pedos, when they move into a new area, they have to go around knocking on all the neighbours' doors, introducing themselves. "Hi, I'm your new neighbour. I sell gambling products to children, but I'm a nice person really." And they shouldn't be allowed within 100 feet of children's playgrounds, schools or public parks. Yeah, I reckon that would make people accountable for what is, let's face it, a grossly unethical practice. But getting back on topic, Far Cry 5 wins worst microtransactions of 2018. And Ubisoft wins a 21 kiloton loot crate. It might contain a really awesome prize, something shitty or something even shittier. It might contain a ticket worth 25% of another loot crate. So if you collect 4, you get another loot crate. That is also probably full of shit too. Full of shit. Just like your pedo cache algorithms. Actually no, fuck that. Here's what you're going to win. Your prize is all of your staff need to attend one Gamblers Anonymous meeting, because I'm confident that if everyone working in the gaming industry got a 3-hour dose of the human misery, suffering and destruction caused by gambling addiction, the industry would transform itself almost immediately. Most overhyped game of 2018. Let's just cut the crap, fuck the nominations. It's God of War. No, seriously, God of War is the most overhyped game I've seen in years. This game was so overhyped, I made a video dedicated to just taking the piss out of how reviewers embarrass themselves. For the God of War press release, Sony flew a fuck ton of reviewers out to Norway on holiday, gave them free toys, let them play dress up Viking, wined and dined them, promised them the moon on a stick, and all they had to do was come back to civilization and tell the world that God of War was literally the best game ever made. Which it absolutely is fucking not. But here is where the plan backfired. Most of the reviewers came back and tried to very literally tell the world that God of War was the best game ever made. Like, actually the literal meaning of literally. And it was fucking embarrassing to watch. Hilarious, absolutely. But embarrassing and awkward too. You had real life grown up people trying to tell the world that things like weapon modification, perk trees, hitting things with an axe, and menus were somehow revolutionary and innovative. I watched one review where this fucking cockend was trying to explain how this one specific bit of the game was groundbreaking and setting the standard for the whole industry. What was he talking about? Climbing onto a fucking rock. Like, climbing up onto a fucking rock had never ever happened before in a video game. It was a shit show. Don't take my word for it, go and watch the reviews from the people who were there, if they haven't taken them down yet out of embarrassment. It is fucking tragic. Credit where credit is due though, a few reviewers didn't drink the Kool-Aid and gave fair reviews, and some got a bit of grief for doing that. But most took the king's shilling and went full paid review. Never go full paid review. Is God of War a good game? Absolutely. Some say a great game. Game of the year? Grow up, of course it isn't. Sony bought that award. It's a solid sequel to a much loved franchise which does not have microtransactions, so I'm a fan. But it's not the best game ever made. It's not even the best game made this year. It's not going to win the Nobel Prize or change the industry. It won't bring about world peace. And climbing onto a fucking rock isn't new. Sorry, but the bar has been set so low in the gaming industry recently that one of the biggest companies in the world makes a game that's good and it wins Game of the fucking Year? Jesus. How low have we sunk? But that's it for now. There'll be more coming in part 2 of the awards, which will be arriving in a couple of days. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.